Esther 1:1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, or King Xerxes. This was the Ahasuerus who reigned over 127 provinces. He was a king of 127 land areas, or 127 empires, from India to Ethiopia. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this was the Ahasuerus who reigned over 127 provinces, from India to Ethiopia. Esther 1:2. In those days when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the citadel. Citadel is like a fortress, a fort. Esther 1:3. That in the third year of his reign, first year, second year, third year, that he was king, he made a feast for all his officials and servants, the powers of Persia and Media, the nobles and the princes of the provinces being before him. The king had a feast with all the leaders, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his excellent majesty. For many days of feasting, 180 days in all. 180 days of feasting. In the third year of his reign, he made a feast for all his officials and servants, the powers of Persia and Media. Not sure how to say that. Media. Nobles and the princes of the provinces before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his excellent majesty. For many days, 180 days in all. Esther 1:5. And when these days were completed, so I drew out 180 days, complete days of feasting, right here. After 180 days of feasting, the king made a feast lasting 7 days for all the people who were present in Shushan, the citadel. So the king made a feast lasting 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for all the people who were present in Shushan, the capital, from great to small. All the people in the court of the garden of the king's palace. The area of the garden of the king's palace. The king's court. Esther 1:6. There were white and blue linen curtains. So we can color this. There were white and blue linen curtains fastened with cords of fine linen and purple on silver rods and marble pillars. Fastened with cords of fine linen and purple on silver rods and marble pillars. Fastened with cords of fine linen and purple on silver rods and marble pillars. Beautiful. Esther 1:6. And the couches were of gold and silver on a mosaic pavement of alabaster, turquoise, and white and black marble. Gold and silver couches, mosaic floor, precious stones. Beautiful couches. And they served drinks in golden vessels, each vessel being different from the other. Gold cups, each one was different. Probably glasses with wine. Esther 1:7. With royal wine in abundance, according to the generosity of the king. Abundant wine from the generous king. In accordance with the law, the drink was not compulsory. So I think one version says there was a lot of wine, and one said you didn't have to drink according to the law. For so the king had ordered all the officers of his household that they should do according to each man's pleasure. So maybe drink as much as you wanted to. I wrote you could drink if you wanted to, but you didn't have to if you didn't want to. Esther 1:9. Queen Vashti also made a feast for the women in the royal palace which belonged to King Ahasuerus. Queen Vashti had a feast for the women in the king's palace. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, on the seventh day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, seventh day of the feast, when the heart of the king was merry with wine and happy, he commanded, Esther 1:10, he commanded, I order you, Mehuman, Bisa, Bar Harbona, Bigtha, Abagatha, Zethar, and Carcass, 7 eunuchs who served in the presence of King Ahasuerus. 7 servants, there were 7 eunuchs who served in the presence of the King Ahasuerus. He ordered them to bring King Vashti before the king. Go get the queen. He commanded 7 eunuchs who served in the presence of King Ahasuerus to bring Queen Vashti before the king, wearing her royal crown. Esther 1:11, wearing her royal crown. In order to show her beauty to the people and officials, for she was beautiful to behold. She was very beautiful. Come in order to show her beauty to the people and officials, for she was very beautiful to behold. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command brought by his eunuchs. So the servants say, excuse me, Queen Vashti, this king is asking for you. She says, no. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command brought by his eunuchs. Esther 1:12. Therefore the king was furious, and his anger burned within him. Therefore the king was furious, and his anger burned before him. Then the king said to the wise men who understood the times, for this was the king's manner towards all who knew law and justice. So he's getting advice, like tradition. It was the king's custom or tradition to ask advice from the wise men who understood the times and helped understand things. Then the king said to the wise men who understood the times, for this was the king's manner towards all who knew law and justice. Esther 1:14. Those closest to him being Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan. These advisors were closest to the king. Those closest to him, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, who had access to the king's presence. So I think of an access card. They were able to go to the king's presence. The 7 princes of Persia and Media, who had access to the king's presence and who ranked highest in the kingdom. They were in a very high position in the kingdom. They had the highest status or position in the kingdom. So he asked Esther 1:15, what shall we do to Queen Vashti? Like, how shall we punish her? What should we do? According to the law. What does the law say? Or what shall we do to Queen Vashti according to the law, because she did not obey the command of King Ahasuerus brought to her by the eunuchs? The king wants you to come to the feast. No. Queen Vashti and the eunuchs, what shall we do? She's not listening. Esther 1:17, Esther 1:16. And Memucan answered, before the king and the princess, Queen Vashti has not only wronged the king, not only has Queen Vashti wronged the king, but also all the princes and the people who are in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. She has also wronged the princess, all the people in the king's provinces. She did bad to the princes and everybody in the provinces. And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Queen Vashti has not only wronged the king, but also all the princes and all the people who are in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. Esther 1:17. For the queen's behavior will become known to all women. All the women will know how Queen Vashti behaved. For the queen's behavior will become known to all women, so that they will despise their husbands. We despise our husbands in their eyes. In the women's eyes, they despise their husbands. When they report, King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought in before him, but she did not come. They're telling each other. For the queen's behavior will become known to all women, so that they will despise their husbands in their eyes. When they report, King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought in before him, but she did not come. Esther 1:18. This very day the noble ladies of Persia and Media will say to all the king's officials that they have heard of the behavior of the queen. We've heard of the queen's behavior, the wives of the nobles. This very day the noble ladies of Persia and Media will say to all the king's officials that they have heard of the behavior of the queen. Thus there will be excessive contempt and wrath and anger. The wives will be very mad. So Memucan is telling this to the princes and the king. Esther 1:19. If it pleases the king, I like your idea. If the king likes this idea, a royal decree, like an announcement, will go out from him. Royal decree and order from the king. And let it be recorded in the laws of the Persians and the Medes. The laws of the Persians and the Medes, so that it will not be altered. This law cannot be changed. If it pleases the king, let a royal decree go out from him, and let it be recorded in the laws of the Persians and the Medes, so that it will not be altered. Esther 1:19. That Vashti shall come no more to King Ahasuerus. Vashti no more will come to King Ahasuerus. Not Queen Vashti, but Vashti. That Vashti shall no more come to King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal position to another who is better than she. So Vashti's royal position will be given to somebody else. Who will they give it to? Mysterious woman. Someone better will be queen. And let the king give her royal position to another who is better than she. Esther 1:20. When the king's decree which he will make is proclaimed throughout the empire, all his empire, for it is great. The king's order proclaimed throughout his great empire. When the king's decree which he will make is proclaimed throughout the empire, all his empire, for it is great. All wives will honor their husbands. Wives will honor and respect their husbands, both great and small. So the decree will be all wives will respect their husbands. Esther 1:21. And the reply pleased the king and the princess, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. So they're all pleased. Yay! Memucan, the 6 princes, and the king. And the king says, I'll do it. And the reply pleased the king and the princess, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. Then he sent letters to all the king's provinces. He sent letters to all the king's provinces, and to every people in their own language. I just wrote Hebrew, Chinese, Tagalog. He wrote to every people in their own language, Esther 1:22, that each man should be master in his own house. I just put leader. Each man, leader in his own house, master, king, and speak in the language of his own people. Each man should be master in his own house and speak in the language of his own people. People speaking in the same language.